Thank you all for coming out to our live demo presentation. My name is Alex Edelen. I'm the lead solution advisor here at Bridge Consulting. This is going to be basically our virtual convention booth here. So if we were in person at a normal event, we'd be rubbing shoulders in a large ballroom somewhere, networking and figuring out what everybody does here at the convention. So a little bit about Bridge Consulting. We are a software development consulting firm. We do a lot of work on the Citrix SaaS products. We are also a Citrix solution advisor with our distributing partner Arrow Electronics for any licensing, networking, and hardware needs you may have. We have access to that through Arrow. We also run the Citrix Developer Solutions podcast that you can find on any and all podcast platforms if you want to learn a little bit about what we do in some of our previous projects. Like I said, my name is Alex Edelen. I'm the lead solution advisor. So anything that involves licensing, new project coordination, I'm the person to talk to. So briefly here, Spencer D is going to take us through a demonstration of one of the micro apps we built for one of our previous last year's Converge Hackathon. So if you're not familiar with Citrix Workspace, what it is the tagline there is straight off Citrix's white papers. But what it really is an intelligent feed that links all your software applications together in one place. We liken it to a Twitter or Instagram feed. And if you had to go out and find all the information that's brought to you in 5 minutes on a feed like that, it would take you hours, if not days, to accumulate that information. So Citrix Workspace with Intelligence tries to do the exact same thing for your business softwares. So like I said, in addition to our Citrix products, we also do AWS development, Citrix licensing through Arrow, and just any software development needs that you may have. And now I will pass it off to Spencer D, who will take us through the live demo of Spotify.
Yep, that is right. I'm Spencer D, and I'm a two-time Citrix Hackathon winner and alleged self-proclaimed workspace expert. And I will share my screen and kind of give everybody a run-through of our Spotify Microapp and all the layouts that come with it. Shoot. Okay. So we'll start here just by looking at the Spotify Microapp backend. So just the simple configuration such as our data loading endpoint. This is where we bring in all of our information from the API calls from Spotify's website. So here you can see our GET request. This is getting all of the information from our featured playlist API, and it'll bring in a variety of information. Here you can see some script that we have configured just for our embed feature that will be explained a little bit later. And then here are the tables that are being pulled in that bring in different values, such as just simple playlist items, the different items on the playlist, and then some images of the playlist. And then we can see the same thing for our new releases request. We have our same kind of GET request here that gets the information from our new releases API, some scripting that'll help with our embed feature later in the process, and then just some values coming in here, such as our album items, the artists, the available markets for the new releases, and then some images. And you can see all these here. Album type, the name of the album, the release date, all this information will become useful later on. Here we would have some webhook listeners if we have configured any for this micro app, however, they're not necessary. Same with our scripting. And here are just those more descriptive area for those tables I was referring to earlier. You can see where the values are actually being pulled in. So here we can see a description of a featured playlist, the name of the featured playlist, and just a bunch of different items such as the number of tracks. And this will help with just the layout of the page and different information we want to pull into Workspace later in the process. Here are some relationships that are configured whenever you pull in these tables. Generally, these are automatically built out, but sometimes you have to come in here and manually build some relationships in order to do some scripting and some other actions such as that. Here is the service actions area. We don't have any configured for Spotify. This is where you would input some post requests or put requests if you needed some action from the website as a whole. Our Spotify Microapp is just GET request, so we're just pulling information, so we didn't actually have to configure any service actions. And then here's just the basic configuration of pulling the API in. We have a base URL, which is just information that you can find on Spotify's public API documentation. Some authentication methods. So Spotify requires an OAuth2 authentication method, which requires an authorization URL, a token URL, which also can be found on the API documentations. And you also have to configure a client ID and secret, which is built within Spotify when you make an app so that Spotify and Workspace can talk to one another. So that has to be manually created within Spotify's interface. So you can see here, I'll go ahead and just reauthorize for the purpose of the demo. See, I allow Citrix Workspace to integrate with Spotify. I agree. And we are all set up. You have to do the same thing with the OAuth2 here if you want to configure any service actions. It wasn't really necessary for us to configure this because we don't actually have any service actions, but we were better safe than sorry, so we just went ahead and created another app with another ID and secret. Next, I'll get into the specific microapps. So for our featured playlist microapps, we didn't necessarily need any notifications. We went straight pages. So you can see here this little action button. That means it's our action page. So for our featured playlist microapp, you can see here when we click into the microapp, the action page is the first page that appears. So you can see that's what our page looks like. Here we just have a simple static image with the URL. And then we go to our list grid feature, which pulls in all that data from the table feature that was shown earlier. So you can see our data table that we utilize is the featured playlist items. And then we bring in different things such as the name of the playlist, the description of the playlist image, and then some different actions here. So what this action does is this go to page action. If you click on one of these blades, it'll take you to the next page that we have configured. So say we want to listen to musical therapy. Click on it here and it'll take us to the musical therapy page. Here you can see the option, you have the ability to go to multiple pages. So I will show the playlist details page, which is the one that we have shown here. Back button, no coding or anything needed there. Those are easily configured. This is just a simple URL image pulled from that data as shown earlier. We have the number of tracks, same thing, pulled from the data and the endpoint, and then the name of the album. This is the newest embed feature that I was referring to earlier with the code. That code shown earlier will help us actually embed Spotify into Citrix Workspace. So you can see we have the Spotify layout here with all the different songs from our playlist. We actually have the ability to play the music. Unfortunately, they only come in 30-second previews. You have to actually go to Spotify to listen to the music, which we put a little button down here for. So you can click into Spotify and view the whole playlist, play the songs in their entirety. As you can see down here, we have that go to Spotify button, and that's fairly easy to configure as well. You just have to enter a URL. And then you can see here this little embed URL that's also being utilized to help us bring Spotify within the Citrix Workspace. Just some simple properties of the app. We put in a little description, and this is where you configure which page you want to be your action page. Next, I'll show our new releases microapp. It's very similar in nature to the featured playlist. We have our action page, which you can see here. Couple different values that we brought in for the action page on this one. We have a date, which shows when the song was released. We have the same thing as the image and the description of the playlist. And you can see this is where all that information is getting pulled in here. And then of course we have the action, very similar to the last page, where if you click on a blade, it'll take you to the song in general. Something really cool that we like with this micro app is our details page. We have the option to toggle in between a song preview as well as an artist preview. So you could go through and look at all the artists' different songs as well as just the one song in general. More values just getting pulled in here. We have the image, of course, song name, artist name, track total, all of that is being pulled in from those data endpoints. Of course, we have our select feature here, which allows us to do the song preview, the artist preview. The embed feature is shown earlier. It's built on that scripting shown in the basic configuration at the start, which we want to keep proprietary for now, so I can't really dive too deep into that. And then the same deal here with the embed feature. And these are where those URLs are brought into, the artist name and the album embed URL. And then lastly, of course, it's the same thing as our last micro app. We have this go to URL button, which can take us to Spotify. One last thing I did want to show with this page is the logic that we built in order to play with this toggle. So the song preview and the artist preview, in order to get different things to pop up here, we had to build some logic. So you can see here, it's simple plug and chug stuff, if then else rules and conditions. And that stuff is pretty easy to configure once you get a hang of it. And this is just how our rule is laid out for that conditional. And that should wrap us up here. That's a general layout of our Spotify Microapp. We have it scheduled to synchronize every day, once a day, to make sure that all the new releases come in are up to date and everything like that. So we want to make sure everything is current. That is our Spotify Microapp.
All right, thank you, Spencer. If you are interested in some of our other demos we'll be doing this week, every day this week we'll also be doing a demo on our New York Times application that we built. We took from last year's hackathon to Citrix Ready Marketplace, just like the Spotify. And then we also have a webinar on November 16th at 1:15 Eastern Standard Time. This is a list of all the other places you can connect with us: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, or on our website. And you can also find our podcast at the listing below. Thank you for your time.